Welcome back to Curious Now from the Center for Medical Simulation. I'm Jenny Rudolph, and I'm here this week again with Janice Palaganas and Laura Rock. This week, we're going to be working on cracking the code of team culture, mapping the hidden blueprint underneath what we're thinking. And last week, when we talked about this, I introduced the idea of our actions are actually driven by things that we think, feel, care about, that we're going to call frames. And those actions lead to certain results, often ones we do not want. And so this week, I'm going to be exploring with Janice and Laura what they've discovered about themselves with a frames actions result chain. Janice Palaganas, welcome. Would you introduce yourself briefly, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Janice Palaganas. I'm a professor of health professions education at MGH Institute of Health Professions.
Welcome. And Laura?
Hi, Jenny and Janice. I'm Dr. Laura Rock. I do pulmonary and critical care medicine at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, and I'm an assistant professor at Harvard Medical School.
Thank you both. So, Laura and Janice, I think that getting a sense that actions we take that lead to results that we don't want is a very funny and perplexing and sometimes vexing situation. And I'm wondering if we turned on the X-ray machine on one or the other of your thinking, what we might find in terms of situations where you tried this practice of kind of thinking about what was I thinking in the moment or what was someone else thinking in the moment. And the workout of the week that we had challenged people with was think of a moment when your team got kind of stuck or you were interacting with someone and got kind of glitchy. Or it could also be an amazing moment. It went really well. If we freeze frame that and we sort of image it, what is the frame? What is the action? What is the result that's going on at that moment? I'm wondering what you all discovered.
I have two in my head. One that's actually just an internal, which is related to my struggle with getting a paper done that I've been writing for way too long. And I feel like I had this frame that was like, if I don't have 2 full days to devote to writing, I can't possibly write a single word. And the action is don't work on the paper. And the result is nothing gets done. And that is a very counterproductive frame. It is not serving me, but I realized that that has kind of been my frame because it's just so hard to, it just feels like a really good reason to not do it if I don't feel like I have enough time.
So great. So you have this belief that drives this action that leads to this result that you do not like.
Correct.
The paper doesn't advance. And I think the interesting thing on the workout of the week here is we all have, I'll label it as a dysfunctional frame because I don't think it's working that well for you. What happened though when you recognize that?
I think, it's a really interesting opportunity to question a frame and to think about what other frames are out there. I think it's not necessarily going to work to just flip the frame. Like, of course, I'm aware that, people write like get your PhD in 15 minutes a day, or, it doesn't work for me to write for 15 minutes a day. So I think there's a bit of soul searching that allows me to achieve what we would consider more functional or more productive frame that actually is kind of a realistic frame for me. And then that can change my actions, which will get me a different result. So,
Okay, I'm gonna come back to you on that, Laura, if I can. So I think there's like a little opening moment or a moment of opening and sort of maybe even a sigh of relief, even though you don't love that frame action result chain, but at least you have some insight. Janice, how about you? Example, struggle, stuck
Ah,
point, success.
so I'm having a little recency effect, and we're wrapping up the semester. So for me, it's working with some assumptions that I make around students, and I don't like that. So I think it's also counterproductive.
And do you have an example by chance?
Yes. So I have, at this point, I have certain expectations on the products that I receive for grading, particularly writing and papers, ironically, Laura. And and it's and I can think of a kind of frames action results conversation that I had with one of my dissertation PhD students who just can't. We have great conversations, and it seems clear. She nods her head, doesn't ask any questions, seems like she gets it. And then I get the final result, and it's completely different. And I thought that everything was clear. And so for me, it's, having the assumption of her, I guess,
Yeah.
and performance.
Janice, my social psychologist self is jumping in here, and I'm thinking the frame is you assume that when it sounds like we agree in the conversation, what I think and she thinks match up. So my frame is an example of what we call the false consensus effect. My action is I don't double check with her, or I don't go back to her until I get the final product. And then the result is I'm shocked, and you didn't say this, but maybe even feel a little betrayed that the match you were expecting is actually a mismatch. How am I
And I
doing?
think, yeah, really great. And the result also is that we get into this uncomfortable conversation always, and it's never fun.
Yeah. So, Laura.
I just want to share another example that I think a lot of our clinician educators would be able to relate to. So, this is kind of a success story where I felt, I think, really insecure and overwhelmed by sometimes having to advise or teach or give feedback to some of my trainees who were just so phenomenal. And I felt like inadequate that I couldn't address or offer them, every aspect of critical care training. And I had this frame that if I am vulnerable and open and share what I think I'm really good at and what other aspects of critical care or pulmonary medicine that we are going to have to work on together, then it'll be easier for me to have honest conversations and give high quality feedback and work about the things that I'm strong at and work together and the things that I'm less strong at. And my action was to orient at the beginning of our time together, to make those things clear. This is what I'm really good at. This is what I'm still learning too. And this is what we're going to work on together. And the result is that I feel really much more confident and relaxed about the work that I do with trainees, and much more comfortable and transparent about what I don't know. And I think that really helped, that frames actions result really helped me create an orientation that made me more successful as a teacher.
Cool. So what we've done here is we've taken a moment where Janice had a glitch, a repeated glitch with a student where she thought the student was going to do X and the student didn't do X, and you mapped your frame action result that how you were contributing to that situation.
Yes, and I'll even be transparent that part of my frame as well is she even capable, which is awful. It's just such an awful assumption.
But or not, but the value there is you turned on the X-ray, you found the frame action result, and you may at some point in the future choose to make a change or examine or change your assumptions about this person that would in turn change how you interacted with them, which might make things better.
Yes. Yeah.
And Laura, you shared two examples, but I'll just highlight the positive value of turning on the frame action result X-ray machine, because you noticed that you had an existing frame, which is I kind of have to be an expert on everything. And you realized that if you put in a different frame, like I'm really good at certain things, I'm not so good at other things, that's okay. You didn't say this, but I am. And then your action was to say, hey, I'm really great at X and I'm not so good at Y. We're going to work on Y together. I'll be really able to help you with X. And the result was you were more relaxed with your learners, and your learners were more relaxed with you because they knew what they could rely on you for. And so what I'd like to just highlight with this workout of the week is it doesn't automatically give us a solution. Sometimes it does, but it brings in a breath of fresh air and insight to allow us to start pressing down on the lever of change. We know where that lever maybe should go. So thank you all so much for joining us again. And Janice, Palaganas, and Laura Rock, you've joined us for 5 weeks of working on this process of how do we bring our thinking and talking into play as a way to change culture. And it's really been great having you both with us. Thank you, Laura Rock.
Thank you. It was really fun and great practice to be part of this.
And Janice, thank you so much.
Agree. Thank you. Thanks, Laura.